How you doing?
I'm pretty good, yes. How are you? Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, nice to finally meet you too. I am doing well. I'm doing really well. Yes.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Have you had a haircut? Because you look very different from your photo.
I do. Yes, I had a haircut.
Very nice, very nice. Um, is anyone else joining us? It's just yourself.
No, it's gonna be just myself.
That's
Um,
fine. Yeah.
because yeah, everyone else is working. I guess I am working too, but from home.
Yeah, it is. We'll still work into it. Yeah. I mean, I do have a day job, but this is my passion, obviously. So I come home and I do this. But yeah, it pays with love, not money. But,
Yeah. I know that.
So yeah, just general questions. I'm sure you've answered a lot of these before, but this was a particularly very interesting project because obviously I get a lot of submissions, so I have to watch about 60 odd films. Some of them are personal, some of them are semi-biographical, some of them have got nothing to do with anything. This one was very personal, obviously. So
Yeah.
before I come to that, I suppose are you an actor first and then a filmmaker? And if so, I suppose what drew you to acting then? Is there anything from childhood growing up? What drew you to that and what got you into film?
So yeah, I'm an actor first and foremost, and I went into directing very it's been I would say 3 years that I really direct. Um and the reason why I wanted to become an actress, I think it's not I think it wasn't very conscious. It's not like, oh, I want to be an actress. I think I started by dancing at a very early age. Because my mom is a dancer. And I think it taught me um or yeah, how you can express your feelings, your understanding of the world through art. And it started by dancing, and then I discovered acting through my school. And then I just never stopped. I started to draw, and then I started to take pictures, and it was always a hobby. It was always full of pleasure. Um, and it's very later on, when I was maybe 20 years old, that I was like, oh, I can maybe make a living out of acting. And I think I chose acting more than dance or drawing or painting, because I think acting incorporate all of that. I can be a dancer, a character is a dancer, and then I can be a dancer for an entire story. So the fact that um as an actor, you have to be very curious about the human psyche, about behavior. It's a little bit of anthropology, and it's a little bit of psychology, and it's a little bit of storytelling, and being in touch with your emotions and understanding who you are. And yeah, I think it allowed me to also understand me
Yeah.
better, and being more curious and kind to others. Because one thing, one of my teacher always told me, you should never judge your character. So even if you play Hitler,
Oh,
good
gosh.
luck. No, I'm kidding. But my point is, there's always a reason
Mm,
behind everything and everything we do. So it's trying to understand why people act a certain way. I found that fascinating.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and I suppose it's sometimes obvious to say an actor becomes a filmmaker or tries filmmaking, and it might be an obvious question, but what made you then think, before we come to your personal story, obviously, but was there something else that made you think, do you know what, I'd like to try this from the other side, with a
Hmm.
documentary or fiction? What made you in your head go, oh, actually, I wouldn't mind trying that?
I think the first trigger was the lack of control as an actor.
Mm,
Um, Meaning you are in the service of a vision of a director. Um, and it is beautiful. I love it. But somehow I felt like I have stuff to say, and I want to be able to choose what kind of lighting, what kind of framing, what kind of what character, the way they speak. Yeah, I think it's wanting to have a bit more control over the creative decisions. That's what
Mhm.
made me want to direct. Yeah.
Excellent. So it's a family thing. Beautiful film, obviously. Even for somebody who has no um history like that or that I know of, or any audience member that would watch this and only knows from what they've read in books. And it's really nice to see, firsthand that this has happened from your ancestry. I mean, where did this come from? Like, I know your dad said this to you, and then it was like, oh, actually, but it must have been like you must have had stories from the past. You must have had. Where did the materials come from this? And obviously the inspiration's obvious, but tell me about when you thought, do you know what? I'd like to document this and go and dig and create this film.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, since I'm a kid, my dad tells me about my family in America. Um, but he was very vague and didn't really had, you know, couldn't really answer my questions. Um, until he received the call from his brother and sister from America in 2017. And then he met them for the first time in 2018. Um, that's where all the fantasy of all the dream of I have a family in America became a reality. And then in 2019, I decided to go to America to meet them for the first time. And that's where I discovered this tradition of family reunions. And I think that was the moment. That's where I realized what is family. Because I come from a very small family and with a lot of drama, let's put it that way. Um, so for me, I really understood meeting them, the power of togetherness, collectiveness, community, and also like strong, deep bond. Like whatever happens between us, we will still be a family, and I will you the support and the
Mm.
love that was, um, radiating from those people. I think that's what struck me the most, and I was like, I want to document that because um that's a tradition that we don't really have in France. And also it's such an important tradition in the African American culture because of their history. And I wanted to show that despite the horrible history that African American have, they managed to, through resilience, joy, and love, connect and be stronger together, and still today fight against discrimination and racism and systemic racism in America and I guess around the world. So I think for me, I was, yeah, the resilience of those people as well, um, and the power of family and ancestries and knowing where you're from. I think it helped um, learning about my history and my roots enable me to be a bit more at ease with myself and a bit more centered.
Mm.
Um, so I think for anyone, I think it is important to know where you're from.
Absolutely. And did you then start gathering the materials then? Because a lot of the film it could have easily been you talking to the camera, couldn't it? It could have been, you could have made it not about you, but you could have made it, this is my perspective. I mean, I'm going to ask you a question on that shortly, but you didn't. You made it just, it was literally 90% of just obviously footage and materials that you'd gathered. That must have been a bit of a process, but obviously really great, like coming of age almost. You tell me a little bit about that, how you got all that information and how you thought, right, I'm going to put this into a film.
Um, so all the gathering, I mean, it was, yeah, it was a lot. Obviously, it was all so the film we shot the film. Sorry, we shot the family reunion, so the 3 days of the family reunion. And then it was through the conversation with my closest family, so my aunt and my uncle, um, that I learn more and more and more about really what was going on within our families and what really happened the the slave owner to like all the slaves, and what was
Yeah.
the transition, what happened and all that. So it's through conversation um with them that I was able to then have access to some document, to some pictures and archive pictures of all the family reunions. And then Dorothy, who is the historian, she was the one who really helped me to put the dots together and really
Yeah.
teach me, um taught me, sorry, yeah, the history of our family. So
Yeah.
she's the one who really helped me document it.
Yeah, because I think it's a documentary. You watch a normal film and you think, unless you're Tarantino, of course, who doesn't believe in narratives. But with a narrative film, you have a story. You have your story. You write it. With this, it's not just your story. Even though you're a director of a documentary, their job is very different from a fictional director. I mean, so you must have had enough footage for a 3 hour film. But what made you narrow it down to 20, and why that kind of late? Because you just get the film, you go straight into it. You don't really need to explain a lot, and then we just learn almost as you did. So how did you come up with that structure, and how did you must have been painstaking for you to have to limit it to 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was really good question because it
Hmm.
was really challenging to put it down to 20 minutes. We could have done a 3 hour film because we had 40 hours of footage in the end. So it was the most difficult was really the editing part and watching everything and deleting, and yeah, deleting stuff that we really want it to be in the film. Um, but I think before going to Jacksonville to shoot the film, we had already kind of a structure, a 3 act structure, very loose, but it helped me then going back with all the footage and starting the watching all the footage to have this structure. It kind of helped me to stay on the right track.
Yeah.
And then I just had to readjust my structure based on what I had. So it was just a matter of trusting that this structure was going somewhere and was going to work.
Hmm.
um so um so that's, yeah, that's, but also like it was important to really, with my co-producer, to really constantly go back to the same question of, okay, why do they do these family reunions? Why is it a support system? Why is it tradition? So
Yeah.
every time we would go a bit sidetrack and talk about more of the, let's say the HBCU, would be okay, these colleges, yes, they are a support system, but we let's not dive too much into what is
Yeah.
an HBCU, otherwise we're going to sidetrack. So let's,
Hmm.
you know, so it was constantly going back to, okay, what is the essence of the film? What is the core message? It's the family, it's the connection, it's the people. Um, yeah,
I
yeah,
assume that's. I mean, I assume that's your voice at the beginning, but then you're not really in the film at
yeah,
all. But it is obviously your story, and we know. So I'm always, and I think your name pops up at one point. We have that bit where all the names are typed up, and
yeah.
your name pops up. And I was like, oh, I know who that is. Yeah. Um, is that like a conscious decision? And I suppose the obvious answer is you wanted to give the light to everybody else, but were you ever a part of it? Or did you ever consider speaking to the camera, or did you just think, I just want to be behind the camera at all times and let the story tell itself?
Yeah, thank you for the question because that was a really, we'd struggled with that questions. It's not struggle, but we keep going back to the question of should I be in the film or not?
Mhm.
And we did an interview of me as well. The interviewer interviewed me for an hour. Um and in the end we ended up using just the first line of the film. Um, and I think we did that because it's not it's I wanted to write a love letter to families.
Yeah.
And I think when it's yeah, it so yeah, that was the first thing. And then the
Mm.
second thing is I know nothing about this tradition because I didn't grow up with half of my family in America. I grew up in France. Um, so for me, it would have been very um pretentious to be like, okay, so I'm gonna make a film about me meeting my family and talking about those subjects when I have no idea. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I feel more comfortable by just being kind of a platform for them to communicate and teach me and teach the world and tell the world. Um, so yeah, it was really, and also this story was really about my dad reconnecting with his siblings. Um,
Yeah.
so it was I didn't want to interfere into that because I'm another generation. I'm even more mixed as a,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I wanted to also, oh yeah, I wanted to kind of really disappear behind the camera, I
Yeah, because you
think.
do have a moment in there where there's a couple of moments in there where you are very much focused on the little children. So you are very conscious that
Yeah,
you are one of those little children, aren't you? So
yeah,
it's a yeah, I love that you did that. And whether you're pretentious or not is irrelevant really, because you told that story, like I said, almost like a chronology that those 22 minutes go by. And that was for you like maybe 4 or 5 years of information, and we get to share it in a short space. So it works. You know, you could have been. I wouldn't have minded seeing you on camera or whatever, or hear your voice, but it must have been a tough decision, but it was a good decision. I'm not saying it's the right one, but yeah, I really
mm,
respect it for that because there was a lot. You don't need to hold people's hand, the audience's hand. You let them, and the bit where obviously the bit where the whole LinkedIn, which was funny because modern technology
yeah,
was kind of one of the heroes because without LinkedIn, don't have seen his picture. And it's the beauty of we don't like modern technology, do we? We
yeah,
curse Facebook and LinkedIn, but it has its uses, and this was one. And that was very touching, I thought, because you've got this old heritage with this modern thing that you log in, this
a
business
100%.
social media. And I found that really touching. And then you followed that with the meeting and the footage of the meeting, and your dad was obviously very emotional on that I
Yeah.
got a little bit of a shiver at that moment. It was very, very
Mm,
touching. Obviously for you as well.
yeah, yeah. I
What a
mean, yeah,
beautiful moment that
massively.
was. Yeah, yeah. So good old
Yeah.
LinkedIn, eh?
Yes. Yeah, no, that's very true. I completely agree with you about social media and LinkedIn and all that. There is a good aspect in social media that sadly is completely overtaken by the toxicity of it. Um, but I think it's nice sometimes to remember that again, social media exists because I think our as a human being, our need to connect to each other, to one another is so strong.
Yeah,
Um, that I think that's why social media, is getting massive. It's because we just want constantly to engage with another. Um, but yeah, anyway, that's
yeah.
another subject.
Yeah, but you proved with just that it was literally that one mention, like 2 seconds of your film was shows us that we can use it for good, and
Yeah,
just to touch on my festival, I won't go into it too much, but for this festival I'm doing, this is the 10th one, it's the biggest. And I've got a lot of volunteers helping me do interviews, reviews, helping me coordinate. And I found 90% of them on LinkedIn, because it is the least toxic, as you said. But yeah,
yeah,
a really great place for people with serious intentions. Just a quick question, I suppose, on your collaborative processes. You mentioned editing. Who else was important in making this behind the scenes? And that editing process must have been tricky, especially particularly the beginning where you were, you know, there's a lot of choppy editing. So tell us a little bit about that, your collaborative process of pre-production, post-production, sorry.
yeah. So, in terms of the crew that went to shoot the film, it was only me and my co-producer, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Um, so I was the DP and I was a director and he was a little bit of the DP as well now and then and the producer. And then the post-production team really made the film like big time. Without them, I could have not done it. And my editor, Meg Thorne, I found her out of a despair because
Mhm.
basically when we got back from America, me and Jeremy, we watched the footage and we started to we created a big Google sheet with all the chapters, and we started to timeline some moments and try to like give a name for each moment and try to find some similarity or some link. So it became like a big um uh, yeah sheet of information. And I was very lost at that point, thinking that okay, how am I going to make a 20-minute film? And that's where I found um, Meg, the editor, and because she's so experienced and amazing and talented, she watched everything back as well, and she did exactly the same as me. She came up with a timeline, and we quickly realized that we shared kind of the same timeline.
Mhm.
So it was very reassuring that I had a film. I wasn't sure if I had a film out of the footage, and then she kind of reassured me and was like, "No, no, you have a film. Don't worry." So then she edited a very, very rough cut of I think 45 minutes something, and from that we started to really cut down to what was essential.
Yeah.
Um, and then we worked for 2 intensive weeks until we got like a good edit of a 20-minute, and then we went into um music, and I wanted the music to be recorded live, so to have musicians. So I found a pianist, a guitarist, a saxophonist, a drummer,
Mm.
and together again for like a week, we worked together to find the music, and I really wanted to have something jazzy, funky, because that's
Mm.
how I grew up with this kind of music, and also it's very much part of the African American culture. Um, and then I worked with a graphic designer, um, Pablo Martin, and together we really tried to recreate a family book aesthetic,
Yeah.
based on all the archives. Um, yeah, and then all of that came together. We then went back to the edit, put it all together, and that's where the film really elevated, and the aesthetic really um, came to life, and the colorist as well, uh, Lewis, managed to came up with some really nice grain and a good black and white. I wanted the black and white to be very contrasty,
Yeah.
um, and raw. So yeah, it was. I really felt like a collective work, um, and yeah, that was quite beautiful.
It was, yeah. My final question, I suppose, is just: are you going to pursue filmmaking? And if so, are you going to do documentaries? That seems to be where your head's at? But is fiction something you're interested in?
Yes, so yeah, I'm continuing
Mhm.
directing because I fell in love even more.
Mhm.
I love documentary. I think there's something because I'm very passionate about street photography. So for me, documentary is kind of the continuity of that.
Mhm.
Um, and also in fiction, in film fiction, I really love realism. So Andrea Arnold, Sean Baker, um, uh yeah, just
Mhm.
at the top of my mind, Lean Ramsey as well.
Yeah.
Those I really really love, realism in films. So for me documentary was a good way in, though I'm an actor, so my next film's going to be a fiction one that I'm writing at the moment,
Mhm.
and I'm going to act in it. So I'm not going to completely, I'm going to co-direct it with a director. Um, and and yeah, and it's going to be kind of around the same theme of family because it talks about a relationship between a brother and a sister. And I think the style I'm going to go for, again, it's going to be very close to documentary in terms of um like it's going to be handheld. The um um yeah, just I think yeah, there's something that I've learned about documentary that I want to take on to fiction
Yeah.
and kind of maybe blend those two genre. Um, yeah,
Looking
that I
forward
find
to that.
interesting.
Looking forward to it. The festival, I will let you know. Just you will get some more information. Your film is going to be screening twice. It's all going to be online, sort of like a Zoom call, and we'll have audience members that we're going to have register. We're not going to pay for it, but and then we're going to possibly do a Q&A with yourself if you're available.
With pleasure, I'd love that.
Yeah, because it is all
Yeah,
online, and we have gone over. We don't usually do it to this extent. We have got 63 films this year. Obviously, yours is in the competition selection, which means
yeah.
it's from the last year or so. And I can't tell you what the jury have said, but I will say that your film has been spoken of very highly by the jury members. There's 9 of them. They've watched it and they're sort of beaming with pride and pleasure. It's really hit home, this film. So, it's gonna the audience are gonna really respond to it. So thank you for sharing part
Oh,
of yourself with us, and it's
my
beautiful.
pleasure. Thank you so much for selecting it. Like, yeah, it's that's really where I understand when you make a film, when you make art, I think, or at least when I make art, that's what that's the thing I love the most to see the reaction. Wherever the reaction is, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the same reason why I go to the cinema. Like I love to go to the cinema on my own, don't get me wrong, but I think what I love the most is the discussion that I have after with my friends or my
Yeah.
colleagues and how yeah, we everyone perceive a film completely differently. And that
Yes.
makes it, you know, more interesting, the diversity
And
of
that's why I do this
feedback of
festival. That's what I like the
yeah.
films. I do like the films, but I like the discussion a little bit more. And I know that
Yeah,
seems like really strange. Like, well, that's not very nice, is it? Well, no, I don't mean it in a nasty way. I mean it in a that we watch those films for 10 minutes, but we could discuss them for 20 days. It's amazing.
exactly.
And I love it. And I
Exactly.
love that. Yeah.
A
I'm getting
hundred
shivers
percent.
now. Oh my God. Yeah, I'll leave you to
No,
go anyway, but we will be in touch, obviously, and we'd love to speak to you again. And amazing
thank
meeting
you
you and
so much
speaking
for
to you.
doing this, for
No
having
problem.
this
Thank
platform
you.
is amazing.
Thank you for your film. Loved it.
My pleasure. Have a
All right,
lovely
you have a
day.
lovely day. You too.
Bye bye.